Thank the Force. Thursday night, Star Wars Newsnet live at 10 o'clock Eastern Time for the first time in the summer months because we've been bouncing all around because of the NBA playoffs. And now that the NBA playoffs are over and the Oklahoma City Thunder are the world champions of basketball, we can now resume our regular scheduled programming, except I'll be gone next week. But other than that, regularly scheduled programming is back. It is amazing. I have not talked Star Wars for 2 weeks. Not that there's been a lot of Star Wars to talk about, like new Star Wars, but I haven't talked about Star Wars in 2 weeks. And I'm used to talking about either Star Wars 2 or 3 times a week or like Star Wars once or twice with movies with Miguel for another time. And I haven't done any of that in 2 weeks. So I'm fired up. I'm ready to go. We have some fun ideas to discuss this evening. We're going to be talking about Andor and if its success is going to be gauged on whether or not it wins an Emmy. And then we're going to get into a fun discussion with Jurassic World Rebirth coming out, this week. We're going to talk about Gareth Edwards. We're going to talk about all the Star Wars directors and our favorite works of theirs, non-Star Wars, to kind of tie in Gareth Edwards and Jurassic. So, Miguel, Tom, it's good to see you both. What are the vibes like in Spain, Miguel, right now? What are those vibes?
So I think that it's very hot everywhere except for where I live. So I'm very disappointed in that. Other than that, yeah, I almost double checked the time because I know that we've been bouncing around for the past couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, yeah, I think should be like the regular slot of 10 p.m. But and then I checked the YouTube stream, so yeah, I was gonna ask, but then I checked the stream and it was fine.
We're back. You said, all right,
Yeah,
we're good.
yeah.
Tom, how are we doing? It's good to see you, sir.
Doing great. Getting ready to celebrate the 4th of July tomorrow. So have a big barbecue happening at my brother-in-law's. So looking forward to that.
Fun.
So it's good because he'll do the cooking. I could just go there and eat.
We're terrified that it's going to rain all night here in Orlando because we have plans. So Janelle's brother that lives in California is like flying into town because it's one of her other brothers. She has 3 brothers. One of her other brothers' birthday this weekend. So we're kind of doing this whole family thing, but we have no idea what time it's going to start raining because in Florida, it's going to rain at some point. We just hope it's not at night when we're outside doing like fireworks celebrations and things like that, or like different cookouts and all of that. So hopefully it doesn't rain. We have no backup plan. My fiance's family is amazing, but they are not necessarily known for their planning techniques. So we usually just go straight off of vibes, which can honestly, sometimes that leads to the best evenings because you just come up with an idea out of thin air. But for me, someone who loves to have the itinerary, it's sometimes I get a little nervous because I'm going, all right, what do I got to mentally prepare for? But it always ends up being a good time. So I'm looking forward to it. Nothing crazy in the Star Wars world. And since the last time we've really gotten together, a bunch of unsubstantiated rumors, which of course, anytime there's a dead period in Star Wars, it's time for, some rando to start, saying some stuff. So there's a few things out there like that. I guess there's you guys tell me, I've been so out of it being sick and moving and with the going to the finals and everything. Is there a new Lego Star Wars villain, Master Savolston or something? Like, what's his name? Do we know?
Oh, I do not know the name, but yeah, this is like the villain for the September Lego Star Wars special that is coming out. That I guess it's like a sequel or continuation of some sorts to the.
Oh, it's like the rebuild. I saw it was like Rebuild the Galaxy. So
yeah,
I'm looking forward to that. Was a fun little special. Did you watch the Lego stuff, Tom?
I do actually. When I get a chance, some of it is actually pretty well done. Very creative and imaginative. So I do like to catch those when they come out.
I mean, we had Darth Jar Jar and Darth Nubs in the last Rebuild the Galaxy. That alone is worth the price of Disney Plus for a month, I'm sure. For
yeah,
people.
I love how they even they make fun of themselves. They kind of like some of the fan things. They play around with some of the I guess the common jokes that go around or memes, and sometimes play around with those. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
To Did you guys see, and Tom, you wrote the article on this, so I guess Miguel, did you read Tom's article on Ahsoka where it was the actress, I'm blanking on the names, like Ivana, I believe
Yeah,
is
it's
her name,
exactly. Yeah.
and she was basically didn't have anything to say about Ahsoka season 2 other than it's going to be bigger, it's better than ever
Yeah.
before, and all of those things. But I did think Tom brought up an interesting point about how she's been doing a lot of like physical training for the project she's working on right now, and or the project she was doing. I wonder if that could something like that could correlate into her action sequences in Ahsoka season 2, especially if we're getting bigger and bigger. But then as Tom was talking, like we were speculating a little bit on what her role is in the season. So I thought it'd be fun just to kind of have a quick Ahsoka season 2 speculation time, because her character, pretty much every character in the show, we have a very firm direction, I think, of where they're heading. Like Balin, we don't know exactly what is going on, but we know what his path forward is. We kind of know Ahsoka and Sabine are going to be having to go stop him and probably trying to get back. Obviously, Thrawn is engaging in his plot. Ezra, Hera, and everyone is going to be trying to stop him. But then we have Shin, who is kind of the leader of the band of rebels at the end, but or the bandits. But that doesn't really feel like the end of her story. Like if she could go a number of ways, I could see her reuniting with Balin. I could see her ultimately helping Sabine and Ahsoka for a little like I'll help you if you help me get back sort of thing. So I'm curious what direction maybe you think her character is going to go in season 2. Just right now, all speculative, of course.
I mean, I agree in that we don't know, and that she's probably the most mysterious character in this regard, in that we don't really know what the what the goal for her journey is. At least for now, I think that this is a little bit more clear for Balin, who is like more in between the light and the darkness. It is a little bit more clear, of course, for Thrawn, who like tends to go more darker and
right
and Ahsoka lighter and so on. I don't really know. I don't want to assume, because like this quote that this is going to be bigger and so on, like this is the kind of stuff you say a year off, and
right. It's what everyone says. It's this is the best story yet. It's the best season yet.
Exactly,
it's going to be the greatest action sequences in Star Wars history. They're gonna say
I do believe that it is going to be bigger based on what Filoni described at Celebration. I think there are going to be all-out war sequences in this, probably like towards the end of the season and so on, that leading directly into like this finale movie that they are planning. But we also heard that The Rise of Skywalker was gonna be like an all-out war movie a year in advance from Oscar Isaac. In fact, wasn't as much that, and so on. So, what is Shin's role going to be? I honestly don't know. I think that she is going to cross paths with Ahsoka in that rogue planet, rogue even that she stayed on.
I'm really curious to see what her and Sabine's relationship might look like going forward.
I just think that it will be like an easy alliance, just to like so they can both get out of there, or all three can get out of there.
Because we forget that Shin pretty much killed Sabine, like very nearly killed her in the first episode of the show, like first or second episode of the show, and that's obviously probably something that's going to stick with Sabine for a little while, being a Mandalorian, and they're a little stubborn. But Tom, what would you like to see the direction of Shin go? Because again, like Miguel said, the most mysterious character probably in the season. It's the only character in the show that I think kind of we could see go either way. Like I could see her making a turn like towards the light and end up joining, with the heroes to conquer Thrawn and conquer what's going on. Like I could see a path where they do that, but I also very easily just see her taking, more steps down, the dark path and becoming, another, pretty sizable villain for the show.
Yeah, it's so interesting because Shin, to me, and Balin were the most intriguing characters that they introduced in the show. I really loved their dynamic together. But I feel like we left her in a place where not only do we not know what her arc is going to be, I don't think she knows, as Shin herself, what this means. She was kind of left there hanging by by Balin. We're going to see. I guess she's looking for her purpose. I have a feeling. I also think that somehow she's going to team up with Sabine and Ahsoka in some way. And I don't think it would be a cheat. Like sometimes it feels like when you see evil characters, redeemed, it's kind of like you feel like, I don't know why they took the story in that direction. But in her case, they were kind of in the gray side. So I think, their motivations are still kind of mysterious. Balin, of course, is going on his quest that we kind of know is leading towards the Mortis gods. But for Shin, I don't know. It's very, it's very strange. And even, I don't know, that might have been something that, if you criticize about the show, it was left very, not that we have to know where she's going, but what kind of motivation is she going to have at this point? Like, they're all there on Peridia. Yeah, they're all there on Peridia. It's like,
she kind of got forgotten about towards the end. Like, she just doesn't appear at all until the final episode and a half. Until the very end, she's there. It's like, oh, I guess she didn't make it out. And so that's kind of one of the more interesting points of where she could end up. And I agree with you that sometimes when they do these whole villain to, redemption arcs, that it's like, okay, like, I guess so. And Star Wars obviously does that quite a bit. However, I'm okay with it a lot more when it's these like youngling type characters, like the mentees. Like, she is kind of like his Padawan in a sense, that he's taken under her wing. She probably hasn't had, Balin. I imagine Balin is a fantastic teacher. It's just the lessons that he's been teaching her are probably not lessons, that are good for a young, person to grow up like morally. So I would like to see, her spend some time with Ahsoka and learn like that different perspective from someone who has essentially seen the same amount of death and chaos and their world falling apart around them, like Ahsoka has, but she's come out on the other side of it. And Shin kind of getting to see that perspective might be the start to bring her back to the light. And I think that would be a good arc to explore. You did make another point in your article, Tom, and I had forgotten about this, and shame on me for forgetting this so soon, is that the great Admiral Akbar will be going head to head with Grand Admiral Thrawn. And as much, I got like a Last Jedi poster up behind me. I haven't got all my stuff up yet, but as much as I love The Last Jedi, and as much as I will admit that Admiral Akbar is not some like mainline character in Star Wars, when you think about just the number of minutes he's on the screen, just the aura that Admiral Akbar has and kind of the following and fandom of that character, especially because it's from Return of the Jedi, one of the originals. The ending that he did get in Last Jedi, where he just kind of is existing and then just gets off, and we kind of don't even realize it because Leia's at the center. I'm still a little jaded about that. So I'm sitting here going, maybe we're going to have another big Akbar epic moment in battle, another great quote that we can meme for the next 30 years. And it will feel a little bit less horrible when we watch The Last Jedi, because we kind of give one more last hurrah with him here.
It's kind of like his Luke hallway moment we're looking for, right?
I hope that
I agree.
Because Filoni has said that he was so tempted to use that line, the trap line, and he never did. So I'm just hoping that he didn't, come up with a different one that is just as cheesy or something like that, and then it's just like a forced situation where he's just trying to create a meme and not coming through. So
let the memes naturally flow.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm excited. I mean, they can do a lot. There's kind of an open playing field that they have. Again, getting back to Shin, I feel like if she does join Sabine and Ahsoka, it'll be on her terms, and kind of not so much that she's coming to be a Jedi, but that
Mhm.
it's something that may serve her. They may have to survive together to get off of Peridia.
Mhm.
So it'd be
Mhm.
interesting to see.
Like that. So we have this crazy thumb that they put together today, which is, I think, just amazing. So if you can see, we have dinosaur going on. We have, a bunch of Star Wars directors up here and everything. And then we have Cassian right there. So we're going to start with Cassian's side of things. And we're going to talk about, is Andor's success, quote unquote success, centered around it winning an Emmy? And when we say winning an Emmy, we're for the contents of like this discussion, for the purpose of this discussion, let's not that some Emmys are worth more than others, but for costume design or best sound, things like that, let's kind of push those to the side and say, is Andor going to win like one of the the titular Emmys here, one of the like mainline, like these are the big ones, like a best actor, best actress, a best drama, like some of the ones that you are going to, if you win, you are going to put that everywhere on your platform because it's that big a deal. And we've talked about this a lot, where Miguel and I have, so I kind of have an idea maybe of where Miguel's heading. So I'm really curious, Tom, like where you are on this, because Miguel and I have pretty much said that if they were to win an Emmy, like like a big Emmy like that, they would pop champagne bottles, especially if they were to win like best drama this year or something like that. So they would be popping champagne bottles if only one person watched the show, and that one person, that was what got him the Emmy. But I'm curious, given some of the streaming numbers that have been coming in, if that conversation has shifted a little bit. And I'm very interested to see what you guys have to say here.
I have thoughts. So I will say this. So season 1, nominated for best drama series. That's the one. That's what they're chasing, right? So that's the coveted spot. It's
Right.
like best picture at the Oscars. So season 1 was nominated. I knew it had no chance, and I always say that on any award show, unless it's like the Saturn Awards or something like that for VFX, or like MTV, that they really pay attention to pop culture.
Right.
Those kind of award shows. Not saying one's better than the other, but just stating a fact. And I always say it. I'm like, that movie's not going to win, or that show's not going to win. They don't give awards to those kind of franchise shows. So the fact, so I really believe it's going to be nominated for best drama series, and we'll forget about the other things. I think it's going to get a lot of nominations, and deservedly so.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's, I'm pretty confident it's going to be nominated for best drama series. Now, I thought this right after the show dropped, and I said it will probably get that nomination, which in and of itself is a big honor. And again, I was like, no chance. But I feel like Andor has kind of been, unlike season 1, I feel like momentum has been building. It's been everywhere. I see Diego Luna everywhere. He was hosting Jimmy Kimmel for a couple of nights. Mm-hmm. He was on Conan's podcast. So, and people are saying again and again that, I'm not a big Star Wars fan, but I watched Andor. You've seen YouTube videos and things. I feel like it's getting so much momentum that it's almost becoming like a force of nature. So I think that for the first time in, I guess, ever, since episode 4 was nominated for Best Picture at the 78 Oscars, the first time I think there's a Star Wars property that has a major award, the best category, that has a solid chance of winning. So I'm really excited about that. And I think if it does, I think it's going to bring a lot of people to watch the show, even if they're not into science fiction or Star Wars. So I'm really hoping it does that and it goes the distance and wins. I think that would be really awesome. I think it would be a huge victory for Disney Plus and for Lucasfilm. So those are my thoughts. I'm excited. I'm happy that I think it'll be nominated anyway. But if it takes the big prize, that would be unbelievable.
So season 1, I just got 8 nominations. It didn't win anything, but it did get 8 Emmy nominations. I would be surprised if it doesn't match that number, if not, exceed in another, area or two. Actually, Miguel, you go first. Miguel.
I'm expecting a lot more than 8. I'm expecting of the order of 15 to 20. I think Mando season 2 a few years ago got like 22, 24.
Correct.
I'm expecting something in that range. Um, I don't know about its chances at best drama. That is like a steep competition, a steep category this year between Severance season 2. What else is out there? I think the Pit might have a good chance as well, and there are a couple others in there. So I don't, but I do think that it has a chance. I don't think that it had a chance in season 1. I do think that it has a chance now. I think that maybe I'm biased, but I just put it in that like a group of 3/4 between Severance, The Pit, and I forget what else is that. I can't remember. Was House of the Dragon last year as well? I don't think that that's like
Please no.
that's going to be very competitive, but that's also.
Now you got me thinking about House of the Dragon and all my problems I had with season 2 right now.
So
we
the-
can get
the-
it.
the
We
issue-
can do that right now. We can get into that if you want. You know,
I don't think that it's going to be anywhere close to winning, but it's going to be in that category as well. In terms of I lost my thought here. I do think that it has a better chance at other categories like maybe supporting actor for Stellan Skarsgård, maybe even lead actor for Diego, maybe supporting actors for Adria, and especially something like writing or direction. I guess like Severance is your main competitor here.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'd love to see Elizabeth Lau nominated as well, if possible.
I mean, me as well. Yeah, don't get me wrong.
But they,
as well, but,
they might just go
I
for the
have to
big
double
name.
check the competition, and I should have done some homework here and double check the predictions. We will see in a couple of weeks. The nominations are announced on July 15th. So we shall see. But I am expecting a lot of nominations.
Well, but and that's great. I'm expecting a lot of nominations too. What we're talking is the win. If it doesn't win, one of like a major one, is it still? Are we still considering this? Like, is this going to be considered a success? And to me, that they are. You think so? I think so. Given the way it's been in the conversation, I think it's going to last a long time, and it's going to be timeless. And the streaming numbers went up, but I want to ask Miguel about the streaming numbers too, because to me, the fact that it was charting so well is great, but it was also dropping. You know, when you have 3 episodes a week, that's dropping your minutes watched. If you're watching Andor, your minutes watched are going to be way higher than a show dropping just 1 episode a week, and then you keep building that up. So I don't know how to maybe gauge that as is it getting that much more, or is it just because we're dropping an hour and a half, 2 hours worth of 2 hours worth of content every week, and so naturally your numbers are going to be way inflated for those 4 weeks. But I really think that they are banking on winning something, like coming home with a couple of wins here, and at least one where they are really, really proud of that, where they have whether it's for writing or like an actor that really wins a major award. Like, I think they're really banking on having a couple of those that they can really highlight on their platform to elevate Disney Plus a little bit, to keep putting Andor back out there to the public and highlighting that show in the future. Like, Emmy award winning actor, Diego Luna delivers this, or whoever wins. I really think that I'm not saying they're banking on it, but I think they really want this one as much as they've wanted anything in a while, just given all that they put into Andor to make it look and feel as serious and as gritty, and as the high quality of the set designs, how it looks visually. Everything about it just feels like they were like, we need to go all out to deliver Star Wars a win in something that you probably wouldn't expect Star Wars to be able to compete in. And while got 8 Emmys in season 1, that's great, we're probably expecting double that and then some for season 2. They want to bring home some hardware. They really want to bring home some hardware here.
One thing also that I'll note is that I watched one YouTuber saying that Disney hasn't really publicized it as a Star Wars show as of late when they're doing some of their Emmy, I guess, marketing. They've been just saying Andor, and they haven't been really like stressing that it's a Star Wars show as much. In some of the videos or things that they've been releasing, that's what someone was saying. I said, it's interesting. I guess they're trying their best to really put it in a good position. Honestly, I think, and not even comparing the quality to season 1, but it's just in a better place. I think it's become kind of a cultural phenomenon as much as a show like that can. And I think it's everywhere. I think it's buzzing. People are talking about it, and I think that'll help it. So it's in a good place right now to be set up for a win, I think.
I was just checking out the predictions on Variety, for example. I was missing one show from that list that I provided, which is White Lotus, which is so to me, White Lotus season 3 was not as strong as the previous two, but I do think that it's going to play very well for Emmys. These shows that the voters are familiar with typically do.
Right.
Look at like Game of Thrones season 8 that everyone hates, and yet it got like best drama just because it was like something that voters were familiar with.
Right.
I do think that something like White Lotus and Severance are going to be major competitors in the acting categories. So yeah, there's like tough competition there. And also my earlier point that I was missing about that Tom was saying about that Diego Luna basically is everywhere these days, and that the campaign has been much stronger this year. I think that this is mostly because Andor the last time debuted in September. So they had like this promotional campaign in September, and then the Emmys rollout in like the summer after that. But they were also like, they also had some tough competition, so they weren't as sure that they were going to get some. This time they worked hand in hand because they had like the publicity campaign, and now they have the FYC campaign just taking over and just naturally continuing what they were building publicity wise. So yeah, I do think they won it. Obviously, I do think that they know they have a better chance than last time. Question is, can they actually beat Severance anywhere? And I honestly am dubious. I do think that they will win something that we're not expecting, or at least get nominated somewhere we're not expecting. But I am dubious. And of the question of the legacy, I don't think that this depends on whether they win an Emmy or not. I do agree with Tyler that the ratings need to be like put an asterisk next to them, just because we're not comparing apples to apples. We're not comparing we're basically comparing 3 episodes a week for Andor season 2 versus let's say like an episode a week for Mandalorian, and still sometimes they didn't even compare or like weren't even close for some weeks. So yeah, I do agree on that. There's one more point on the Andor ratings that we were missing, is basically that spillover effect of having 3 episodes dropping every week, which is that after the finale week, there were still people tuning in, and Andor even charted for a couple of weeks after that.
That's a good point.
Which is not easy to do for a Star Wars show based on track record, and for a show that has been off the air now for a few weeks, to still have people coming and checking
Different
it out.
topic I meant to talk about. Oh.
Yeah.
So
one more thing, if I
go.
Sorry. If I could just throw in one more thing. One more thing that I think gives it a little bit of a push as far as its consideration is, I think people are using it to compare to events that are happening in the news right now, and fascism and those sort of topics and themes are kind of close to mind with a lot of people, at least here in the United States. And I feel like I've seen pictures that I laugh sometimes on the news, which is pretty interesting, that people hold up, you know, I guess things from Andor at protests and stuff, you know, talking about,
I've seen
you
some of
know,
that.
things from Mon Mothma's speech and things that have been said in Andor. So I think that helps it out culturally, at least. I don't know how that's considered, but I think it kind of, it's
Right.
in the conversation so much now in many different ways. And I think that's another way that kind of maybe gives it a little bit of a, you know, a relevant push
Mhm.
for it.
So I saw something on Twitter just a little bit ago, and it said that Lucasfilm is not going to have a presence at the San Diego Comic-Con like movie panels or like film panels this year. And I saw like Marvel's not going to really have a presence. And there's only like the only major studios I think that are going to be there, like Universal and Amazon, like MGM, are going to present, which feels like a lot smaller, way smaller than normal. But I was surprised because I thought that given that Mando Grogu comes out next May, this is like a big event. You have like a Marvel, like Fantastic Four and Superman coming out. I thought that Lucasfilm might want to be like, all right, this is our trailer for our new movie that comes out next, May, less than a year away, right before next summer. Like, here's your little teaser. And they get their big moment at Comic-Con. And I was really surprised that they're not even going to have a presence with their movie coming out. So then I started thinking, well, when are they just going to drop the trailer on a random, Tuesday afternoon? And not that the trailer, it's like the success of Mandalorian Grogu is dependent on them having some big thing for the trailer. But in my opinion, I always feel like when you create these like events around your, your stuff, having an event centered around that Mando Grogu opening teaser trailer, I don't know. To me, that generates more buzz sometimes than maybe just a Tuesday. Like, you're already categorizing this as like, this is the event you're gonna want to go to next May. Am I reading into this too much? I was just a little surprised that they're not gonna have a presence at all, given the
I
movie
mean,
comes
they,
out next May.
they haven't had a presence at Comic Con since 2015. So
Mhm.
they did have like this sizzle reel for Force Awakens in 2015, but since then, I don't think they've actually brought a
They
movie.
haven't, but I was wondering if they did that for 2015. It's a little different when they're marketing like saga films and and whatnot. Like, that doesn't necessarily need. I thought Mando and Grogu, they're like, all right, Star Wars, we haven't done a movie in 7 years now. When this comes out, maybe we come back and do something and bring the
I mean,
trailer.
that's fair, but just look at Star Wars Celebration, where they have like an event of their own. They have like their most hardcore fans, and they
Mhm.
basically had a 30-minute panel, which was like cut in half by Ryan Gosling, and they basically brought John Favreau to just speak about the movie for 10 minutes, show the 2-minute piece of footage, and just left. And that was like, yeah, a year in advance. I don't think that they want to invest anything
Mhm.
any
Okay.
money into promoting this movie until the end of the year. It's not
Mhm.
going to be a random. It is going to be a random Tuesday, but it's going to be a little bit more focalized than that, because it's going to be around the Avatar 3 release.
Yeah,
And
December.
you're gonna play in front of Avatar Fire and Ash, and you're gonna have the trailer the first week of December on YouTube.
Might go see Avatar like 4 or 5 times just to watch the Mando trailer on the big screen 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, probably you and no one else, because like everyone can watch it on YouTube.
What is YouTube compared to the IMAX? Like,
Exactly, yeah.
I've
So
actually I saw some trailers just or some movies just to see the trailer back in the prequel days.
yeah,
oh,
that's 20 years ago. So
It was a
I
long
still
time
go to
ago.
the movies to see I still go to the movies to see the trailer. I get mad when people get to the movies during the trailers and I have to move like in my seat to let them pass me by. Like, no, I want to be in my seat. I want to watch all the trailers and see it all happen. When Mission Impossible was coming out, and every time I went to the movies, I was so hyped for like the little music that was hitting, and they showed like the little biplane sequence, and then a little shot of Tom running. I was like, yes, like this is why we are here. So I am all about the trailer experience. I get upset when I don't see it. So I'm going to actually Jurassic. I'm going to see Jurassic Sunday, and one of the things I'm most excited for is the Odyssey trailer that they're gonna play before the movie. Like I can't wait
Yeah,
to
but
see.
that's a different thing. That's a thing where you have the trailer exclusively in theaters. That's a
True,
different
but
thing.
they're gonna drop that thing on YouTube before long. Like I could just wait. It's not like I have to.
I don't
If I want
know.
to see it,
I don't think they
it'll
dropped
leak
it.
somewhere.
It has leaked. But they have like removed it from everywhere. I tried looking it up earlier
They'll put
and
it out there before long.
couldn't. I I don't think that they did that for the Oppenheimer. So I think that they will repeat it. I can't remember now if they, because they did drop something for Oppenheimer a year in advance. I can't remember if it was the same trailer that was playing in theaters or not.
Mhm.
But anyways, we're like digressing here. Tom, please shed some light on this thing.
On the
On
trailer.
the Comic-Con. Yeah, like the Comic-Con.
No, we're done with the trailer.
Oh,
Tell us
Comic-Con,
about
yes.
why movie trailers and going to see them are so important, and you should be in your chair.
Well, getting back to Comic-Con, I think Miguel made a great point. They don't really need, they just had Celebration. Maybe they're finding that they don't really need to go to Comic-Con, which is kind of sad because I know they started there doing that when that was, I guess, the only game in town as far as conventions, big conventions.
Right.
It still has a lot of, obviously it's still very popular, but I am a little bit surprised that they don't have anything there going on. So it is kind of strange because I know there's nothing really big. Unless I don't know when D23, if that's going to be around the same time.
Yeah, that's next year. That's going to be after Mando.
Okay, so they're not. Yeah, I'm a little surprised that they're not actually going to do any kind of publicity there, but they probably have their reasons for that.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's have a fun discussion, shall we? So, Gareth Edwards, Jurassic World Rebirth. I almost said Dominion. Jurassic World Rebirth came out this week, and obviously Gareth Edwards, director of Rogue One. We're going to have a fun discussion. We're going to talk about directors in Star Wars and our favorite non-Star Wars production, film, TV series they've been a part of. And, we can start with Gareth Edwards if you guys would like, since we're talking about Jurassic World. I am excited. I love dino movies. Most of them are like, when I went to go see, trying to think of a movie I've seen recently. Like there's movies that I go see, and this is gonna be one of them where I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna get out of this theater and I'm gonna say Jurassic. No, that was a banger. That was a summer banger. Now, if it's a summer banger, it doesn't mean necessarily it's a great film. It has to be a good movie to be a banger. Let's get that out of the way. I'm fully expecting that for this one. But Gareth Edwards, I have a couple of films of his that I am really fond of. Do you guys have any Gareth Edwards, projects that come to mind that are some of your favorites? If you're off the top of your head, get my notes
ready. I mean, favorites in terms of favorites from Gareth Edwards. I did like The Creator. I thought it was solid enough for what it was. I don't remember all of it at this point, but to me it was a little bit cliche at points and like by the numbers, but creatively I thought like took some wild swings as well, with especially in the first act and how it like sets up the story, not as much in how it develops it, but the setup. I did like that one. I don't. I do like Godzilla as well. It's been a minute since I've watched it, but I do like Godzilla as well.
I did like Godzilla.
I did too. That was the one I was going to say.
I have seen his Monsters movie, but I have not seen it in maybe at least 8 to 9 years. So I honestly do not remember much from it. I cannot comment much.
The Creator is interesting. He directed So he directed the creator. He handled, it says he was like on IMDb, it says that he handled a lot of the visual effects as well for creator. He wrote it and produced it. And that's the only one of his films where he did all four of those things. So that's probably maybe the most pure Gareth Edwards experience that you can have in a sense.
Was that not the case with Monsters as well?
It says for Monsters that visual effects, producer. Never mind. You can do that for Monsters too. Let's see the other one.
Yeah, because I do remember that this was like this back to basics approach that he took with the creator was the same kind of approach that he had taken with Monsters, which was like his baby and so on. And then maybe with like Godzilla and Rogue One was not as much because of the studio system and so on.
Have you both seen Monsters?
I have not.
I have
to
yes.
brush up on.
I haven't either. I just looked it up. 6 years after Earth has suffered an alien invasion, a cynical journalist agrees to escort a shaken American tourist through an infected zone in Mexico to the safety of the U.S. border. Looks interesting. I love alien invasion stories. I'll be checking this one out. I'm adding it to my list right now. Let's see. There we go. Tom, you saw God? You said you mentioned Godzilla. Did you
Godzilla.
have? Yeah. So tell me. Okay, so I very vividly remember being very excited for this movie. I saw it in like IMAX or whatever the biggest screen I could it was at the time, 2014. I was a junior in high school, or maybe a senior. It was senior year of high school. And yeah, probably junior. Anyway, so I remember that I went with a group of friends and I really liked it, but a group of my friends were really disappointed. They thought it was like too boring and Godzilla was barely in it because he kind of gave a more character like driven story with Godzilla versus just Godzilla smashing and crazy chaos and everything. So what about that movie did you really connect with?
I just like the scope. I think and at that time it was before they made a bunch of Godzilla movies. So it was if I recall correctly, it was the first one in a while. So, and as a kid, I was very big into Godzilla and the old like fake looking ones. I mean, I used to love those movies. So I enjoyed it. I remember it's been a while. I like Elizabeth Olsen a lot. She was in that, I believe.
Yeah.
So that I enjoyed it. I love Gareth Edwards' approach. Like you said, that he gets involved with the effects. He really knows how to work with an effects team when he does these kind of movies. So I'm anxious to see what he's done with Jurassic as well.
I think that this movie will be fun. I'm excited for it. I'm gonna go see it on Sunday. I'll let you guys know how it is. Let's go to Rian Johnson. Obviously,
Okay.
Little controversial time for the Star Wars fandom here. A little Rian Johnson action. Obviously, director, The Last Jedi, the second best Star Wars movie of all time, according to me. And if I had to pick Rian Johnson, I love Glass Onion. I love Knives Out. I love both of those movies. Those are probably the two that I would put at the top. And I say that not having seen a ton of things from Rian Johnson. He was executive producer on American Fiction, which I did like American Fiction, but I really like the murder mysteries of Knives Out and, his relationship with Daniel Craig and some of the interviews that they've done together promoting those films. And I'm really excited for the third Knives Out movie that comes out soon. So I would probably go that direction. What about you guys?
So
I am a Rian Johnson. Oh, sorry. I'm a Rian Johnson.
Go ahead.
I love basically everything he's touched. So I love Looper. Looper is an amazing movie, and if you haven't seen it, Tyler, you definitely have to check it out. And I feel like outside of the controversy of The Last Jedi for some people, again, I'm a fan like you guys, but I think outside of that, he really, if you look at his other work, I mean, he has a really good list of things that he's been involved with. Knives Out, I think is probably, to me, the first one is one of his best movies. outside of The Last Jedi. I love again Looper. I love Brothers Bloom, which is like a smaller movie, but it was just I love the way he tells a story. You know, he also directed, I guess, 2 very acclaimed episodes of Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I just saw that. I was like, he directed it.
I mean, is it Ozymandias is the name of the episode?
Yes,
It's
yeah,
like
Ozymandias, yeah.
one of the later episodes, but a completely brilliant episode. You know, just from, I know he didn't write that, he just directed it, but his writing and directing, just phenomenal body of work.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up that because I do think that is his best work as a director. It was this episode of Breaking Bad. I believe it was episode 14 of the last season, which is one of the best episodes of that show entirely. I other than that, I do think that Last Jedi is probably his best work directing wise. That movie is like incredibly well directed. We can talk about the story any day, but the direction of that movie, some of the images from that movie are like just incredible. And it's not just because of the cinematography. It's also like everything that the director is involved in. I also enjoy very much Knives Out, but I did not like Glass Onion. I am sorry, I am not in the Glass Onion boat. I did not think that movie was any good. So I am a little bit skeptical about the third one.
I got to
am
see that
excited
one
for
in
it.
theaters. I was excited about that.
Okay, I
That
didn't.
was
I
fun.
sat at home. Yeah, not a fan. But I am excited for Wake Up Dead Man, which comes out this fall. I have seen Looper. I thought it was good, but didn't love it, I think. And I have seen Brick. I also liked it. I have not seen Brothers Bloom though. So yeah, that's a weak spot in my Ryan Johnson wiki.
If you believe it, this is breaking news. Look on his IMDb page for upcoming directorial movies. It says upcoming projects: Star Wars trilogy, episode 1, 2, and 3 in development. In
Right.
case you haven't heard,
So
Ryan Johnson.
probably
It's
around
gospel
2060 we'll get something from that.
I also, and I agree, Miguel. I agree. I love the first Knives Out. The second one, to me, I like it, but I don't like it nearly as much as the first one. I think the first one is a perfect movie. But I also enjoy. He produces a show called Poker Face.
Yeah,
which is kind of a fun show. It's, he's not as involved. I guess in the second season, I'm not loving as much as the first season, but it's a pretty quirky, kind of fun throwback, like murder mystery show, which is kind of fun. He loves that genre.
Yeah,
so,
he was very involved in season 1 though. Like he directed, I think 3 to 4 episodes and wrote a bunch of them as well. So he was very involved. Not as much for season 2 though, because he was busy with Knives Out 3 or Wake Up Dead Man.
Yeah, I have to see Brick. That's the one movie I haven't seen of his, which is like his first, right?
Yeah.
But Brothers Bloom, it just, I don't think it's going to win any awards. I don't know if it has really high ratings on Rotten Tomatoes or anything, but I felt it was a really charming movie. Very simple kind of thing, but just with Ryan Johnson's kind of like quirky sensibilities.
What's that one about? I haven't seen that one.
It's about 2 con men, and they're played by Mark Ruffalo and what's the other guy? As I get older, I forget names, but it's Mark Ruffalo and the guy who just won Best Actor at the Oscars.
So is here Rachel Weisz and Adrian Brody. Yeah, Adrian Brody. I think is the name.
Brody. Right. Yeah. It's just like a charming movie, very interesting with kind of Ryan Johnson's like his DNA throughout that movie, kind of like twists and turns. But I mean, it wasn't for everybody. I don't think I don't think it was one of his acclaimed movies, but I thought it was a charming movie.
Adrian Brody, guy robbed my man Timmy of his Oscar. It's ridiculous. Get him out of here. I'm not seeing that movie anymore. All right. I'm just kidding. So let's go on to J.J. Abrams and just finish up the sequel trilogy. J.J. Abrams, big name, but honestly, I feel like as of late, there's just so much, interesting conversation around J.J. Abrams. I feel like he's not. I feel like if we'd had this conversation 10 years ago, when J.J. was first coming into Star Wars and Force Awakens had just come out, his name was just so high. It was like riding on top of the world. It's like, oh my gosh, J.J. Abrams doing this. Now it kind of feels like he's in search for another, big hit, so to speak. I feel like his name has lost a little bit of that luster, but I have to say, the Star Trek, from the Kelvin timeline with the Star Trek with Christopher Pine, the first one that came out, I love that movie. Like, I absolutely love it. I think that is a fantastic reboot of Star Trek, and I've watched that movie like a dozen times. Star Trek Beyond, like the second one, it was okay. I didn't love it because with the kind of the role reversing of Khan and some of those things, I liked it a lot when I first saw it. I think I'd like it a little less as time has gone on. And then the third one, I don't care much for. I don't love the Star Trek movies, and I'll stop talking about Star Trek after this, but I don't love the Star Trek movies as much where they're not in space very much. And the ship crashes in that one very early in the film. And it's more of they're trying to survive on this planet, so to speak. And my favorite Star Trek is when there's a mix of that. Sometimes they have like a group that's stuck on this planet, but then you still have all the sci-fi stuff going on in space. And that's where I think Star Trek is at its best. And for that to be kind of his final movie there, not really one of my favorites. But the first one is fantastic. Do what?
He didn't direct that one.
Did he not direct that one? Was that someone else?
I think. So that was,
but I agree. They were
like he had to choose between Star Wars and Star Trek.
He didn't direct that one. He directed Into Darkness.
He just executive produced it.
Oh, okay. He's just a producer on that one.
Yeah.
He still had a role.
So I do agree that it's been like some 10 years where like JJ has been like this name that is out there, but we haven't really seen much from him. Like just like in the past 10 years, he directed The Force Awakens, which like he was on top of the world after that. He brought it like $2 billion, almost 1 billion in the US alone. And then, he a couple of years after that, he came back for Episode 9, which wasn't as well received, even though it like made some money. It wasn't as well received, and therefore like we kind of forget about the financials. And since 2019, like he's now directing a movie, but it's been like 5.5 years since he stepped behind the camera. So it's normal that that it's now this name that we used to talk about a lot, but not anymore as much.
And then he's producer, like he has a lot of big producer credits too. I mean, he did all of those. He's on all of those Mission Impossibles, from Fallout, Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation. He only directed the third one, which isn't one of my favorites, but it's still a good movie. And then he's been a producer on several of them too. But then I guess have you seen Lost, Tom?
Oh, have I seen Lost? I should go in that cabinet there and get the whole collection. Lost is probably
you talk about Lost. I've not seen Lost. I've not seen it. So you take it away here.
There's some controversy. Well, anyway, I'll say Lost, I think, really took network TV like to a new level. I absolutely love that show. A lot of people had issues with where it ended up because I don't know if they didn't really have a carved out plan, I think, going through, because it became a runaway hit early on, and then they had to kind of do it. But I think it's such an amazing show. The characters that we got from that show, some of the stories, some of the performances, and it was the one I was bringing up when we were going to talk about J.J. Abrams, about stuff other than Star Wars, because I absolutely love that show. It's one of my all-time favorites, and you should see it.
It's on my list of shows I need to watch. I have 3 episodes left of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and then I can say, finally, that I've seen like every episode of Star Trek live action TV.
Nice.
I just need to go watch the some of the animated stuff at some point. But I have 3 episodes left of that journey, and then I'll be looking for like a new journey to take. Maybe it'll be the Lost journey. I don't know. There's some other things I got to catch up on that I've been missing. Do you guys think, what is JJ's state right now? Like, is he in need of a big, whether it's a box office win or a critically acclaimed win, is he in need of like a big win right now? I feel like his name's a little bit soured amongst the general like populace, but I'm not saying that he's walking around the streets, of wherever he lives going, oh my gosh, I'm just desperate for some work right now. I don't, and like that's not, I'm sure able to get a project whenever he sees something coming along. But I feel like that there is a level of, even since Rise of Skywalker, that I feel like we're just kind of waiting for a big J.J. Abrams thing to happen.
I mean, he signed
his daughter's making a big. Sorry, I keep sorry, Miguel.
Go ahead.
I said his daughter's making a big splash in the music world, Gracie Abrams. So I don't know. Maybe he's taking a little time off to. I don't know. I really think Star Wars. I think the reception. I think the reception to Rise of Skywalker really kind of hurt him.
So the thing is that he has not been like technically taking some time off, because in 2019 he signed a 5-year deal with Warner Brothers to like this 500 million deal with Bad Robot, where he was gonna produce and oversee a lot of stuff. And the deal is now famous because like they paid him hundreds of millions, and he actually never did anything with it, because he was going to do like all of these DC movies, like this dark universe in DC that they just scrapped it because James Gunn came in a few years later. He was like, there was a time where like every couple of months he was his name was on deadline, like being attached to executive produce a new movie, like this.
Okay.
Hot Wheels movie executive produced by J.J. Abrams, never happened.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Like he did make a couple of TV shows. He did make like this Apple show for. So Warner's made it and Apple released it. This with Jake Gyllenhaal. What's the name again? Like it was a remake of the Harrison Ford movie.
The Fugitive?
No.
The Air Force, like one, or
no.
I'm gonna name all the Harrison. Witness.
I cannot believe that I am forgetting about this.
All right, let's start naming Cowboys and Aliens.
What are you talking about now?
Star Wars?
It was Presumed Innocent. That was the show.
That was the next one I was going to say.
Yeah, sure. So he was, if you remember, he was also involved like with a Superman project at some point, and so on. That none of these ever came to be. Like he was paid so much money and given an office and so on, and just never actually did anything with it, other than just producing a couple of very low key movies and a couple of TV shows that actually made it to air. So he's technically been working, but it was just
he's been living that good life.
Yeah, it was just
500 million for that. Like that's the good life right there. That's all you need. That's all I need in life. If they told me that they would pay me my teacher's salary next year, but hey, you only got to come in Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Sign me up. I'm gonna work so hard those 3 days. It's gonna be the best 3 days that you will ever see out of a teacher. But
I've seen him pop up in some documentaries too, here and there. He might have been in the ILM one. I'm just trying to remember.
Yeah.
But not really. Yeah, I'm curious to see what he's up to.
Yeah, so he's making this movie for Warner's now with Glenn Powell and Jenna Ortega. That is, I don't think it has an official name yet, but it's coming out next year. So we'll see what happens.
Speaking of Glenn Powell, did you see the trailer for The Running Man?
Not yet.
It looked fun. That movie looks fun. I'm excited.
Yeah. I will check it out at some point.
Yeah. So just for the sake of time here, let's just popcorn around and talk about whether we have obviously George has some other projects that he's worked on. You know, we have Ron Howard. You got. I guess is that it. Am I forgetting anyone? That's pretty
I mean,
much
it's
it.
like Irvin Kershner and
Oh,
Richard
Irvin Kishner and oh my
honestly,
gosh.
I was checking out their filmographies earlier, and I'm not super familiar with anything that they directed outside of Star
Yes,
Wars.
yeah. I was looking at Irvin Kershner's. I put some notes of like just some that caught my eye that I have never seen, but I had like heard of a couple of these. So like for instance, I've heard of Never Say Never Again. Like I've heard of like that
Yeah.
movie, but I haven't really watched any of like those films, like Bond films or anything like that. Like RoboCop 2. I have heard of RoboCop 2, but I have not watched RoboCop 2. So there was a few movies on his list that I was kind of going through that I said, okay, like I've heard of these, maybe I can mark them down to watch. And same thing with, Richard, I can't pronounce his last name is Marquand. Is that how you say his name?
I thought it was
Mark One.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. But
Yeah, one person I'll say is Ron Howard, and he's done some great movies. You know, you could talk about Apollo 13. There's one that's kind of actually it wasn't really popular, but it was a really good movie called Cinderella Man. It was about a boxer.
Yes, I love Cinderella Man.
Yeah, that was a great movie.
Love a good boxing movie.
It's a really good boxing movie, and it didn't really get a lot of. It didn't really. I don't think it was a real box office success, but it was a really, really solid boxing film.
I have that movie on like DVD. Like that's how much I like that movie. Like, I have that movie on DVD. My dad and I got it, and we watched it. It was good. Love it. And then he directed How the Grinch Stole Christmas, my favorite Christmas movie of all time. So have to put that.
Nice.
So I do have the hot take that I think Ron Howard is a bit overrated as a director. I don't think that he's directed a lot of good stuff since the 90s, other than I do like Cinderella Man. I also like A Beautiful Mind with
Beautiful Mind. Yeah, that was a great movie.
Russell Crowe. I obviously Apollo 13. But I whenever he's attached to a new movie, I just go on about my day. I don't even think about it anymore.
Yeah,
I am excited for Eden, but even that it's like supposed to be.
Before I really started watching more movies and things, I only knew Ron Howard from Andy Griffith's show because I used to watch that a ton, like as a kid, or like even like just flipping around. I used to love that show, and so I just knew Ron Howard was Opie. And then I learned at one point I started watching more movies and kind of really getting into the film sphere, and I learned that like, oh, he's like a major director, like done a lot of things. So I started watching some of those, but for the longest time, someone said like, oh yeah, it's little Ron Howard there. When I would walk in, I'm like, little Ron Howard, like what else did he do after this? Like most child TV, characters, you're like, they don't really go on. A lot of them don't really go on to do other things. And like, oh, okay, we have this. And then obviously like now Bryce Dallas Howard's in Star Wars, working on Mandalorian and other projects like Skeleton Crew. So it's cool how the Howard family is involved in Star Wars and the way they are. Like I went to a MegaCon, they had a panel with all the Howards together, which was really fun. And they had, they're sharing stories and talking about Star Wars. And I really love Solo like that. I really enjoy it. Like, I think I like Solo more than Rogue One, which is like a crazy hot take for most people. But I just love the fact that I can put that movie on no matter what. And I just have a good time with it versus sometimes I think Rogue One, I have to be in the right headspace to like dive into Rogue One. It's not just something I can put on if I've had a bad day. I'm not putting Rogue One on or something. I might put on Solo just to have a good time. So I love that movie, Ron Howard. But yeah, I'm kind of with Miguel. I don't know if I'm jumping out of my chair every time Ron Howard's attached to a project.
Yeah. I do think that Solo has been his best movie since Cinderella Man, probably. Yeah.
So let's talk about Indiana Jones for a little bit, because obviously George is did the Indiana Jones, and
but he didn't direct them.
Well, but even not just a director, but like he created, like he is the
Sure.
creator. He wrote those stories,
Sure.
and so like I feel like it's worthy talking about when
Sure.
when we
Sure.
get into George. And Indiana Jones, sorry, Raiders of the Lost Ark. I don't know. I haven't really put together a list in a long time of like my all-time favorite movies. I'm not gonna get very far before Raiders is put on my list. Like, there's not going to be a long list before Raiders is on there. Like, it might be the most perfect like Hollywood script like ever. Like, I love that movie. And say what you want about Temple of Doom. I like Temple of Doom. I actually really enjoy all of the indie films. I know some people like to hate on 4 and 5 a little bit, but I actually really found something to enjoy in all of them. But Raiders, I mean, I'm not getting that list is not long before Raiders gets slotted in as one of my favorite films. So I'm curious if you guys have like any like a special attachment to Indiana Jones films at all, or if you're not really into it. It's fine. I was just curious.
I love like I'm right there with you at Raiders. I think it's such an amazing film from start to finish in so many ways. Such a like I don't know, not just it I feel like Spielberg and Lucas really captured that spirit of those types of movies that they grew up with, perfectly encapsulated into that film. And I'm a huge fan, like you said. I enjoy all of them. There, you know, I the last two, I think I like them more than a lot of people do. I actually really enjoyed the last one. I thought it was fun. You know, it was what it was supposed to be, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't, you know, I'm not going to hate on it that much. So I enjoy that. And I just think they're great movies. It was a great character that Lucas invented. You know, great idea. There was actually, it's interesting because there was a rumor, I heard it on a few YouTube channels, that they're thinking of reviving the series, but without Harrison Ford. This is actually a recent rumor. And the whole topic was, should they, you know, and it's interesting because I don't know what they would do now with it, but I think, yeah, it's just a great franchise. You know, I
Someone
think
put a picture of Indy and Photoshop Pedro Pascal's face on and said they're gonna force this on us, aren't they? they're gonna force this on us.
Few people could replace Harrison Ford, but I think he would do I don't know. I think
he's everywhere right now. It's like, all right, now he's gonna be Indy. He's literally doing everything. He's got Fantastic Four coming out. He was in Last of Us that just came out. He has the rom-com Materialist that just came out that I need to go see. Like, what is everyone wants a little piece of Pedro.
Yeah, so Indiana Jones, I don't love as much. I'm not super attached to it. In fact, I don't think I don't like Doom. I don't like Temple of Doom. I think that the Last Crusade is okay. I don't love it as much as many people do. I do think that Raiders is a very well directed and very well structured movie. I think that movie. I rewatched it a couple of years ago when the last one came out, and I was very surprised about how much I enjoyed it compared to how I was remembering it. So yeah, I do think that Raiders deserves a hype. I wouldn't put it in close to my top 10 of all time, but that's like my personal attachment to this series. So yeah, I join in on the Raiders hype and the Raiders praise. Not as much the others. So yeah, great idea that George had as well, but I do prefer Star Wars, to be honest.
And all right, so before we wrap up, one more director to talk about, and this is Jon Favreau, who we have Mando and Grogu coming out. So I thought it'd be fun to talk about Jon Favreau because that movie's, you know, it's pretty much done. Like that, it's going to come out in May. They've been working on that. It's pretty much done. Sorry, Favreau obviously was very involved in a lot of like Marvel for a while. He's, you know, been a part of like the Jungle Book. We have Lion King, but something that makes me very excited is the fact that I really enjoy like the Iron Man trilogy. And the first Iron Man, I thought it was great. Second one, not so much. But the third one, I thought is his best movie that he's done in terms of for superhero stuff. And I kind
Again,
of
that wasn't
hope
Favreau though.
do what?
That wasn't Favreau.
That wasn't Favreau?
No.
Iron
That
Man
was Shane
3?
Black.
I thought Iron Man 3 was Favreau.
No, it was
Or
Shane Black.
I thought he was attached to it.
I mean, probably
Like I thought he
produced
wrote it, or was he just producing?
I think so.
Dang.
I
Never
think you're
mind. He
right.
sucks.
Yeah, Favreau. I'll be honest. I did not like his Lion King at all. I
I don't. Yeah. I don't,
not
I don't
good.
understand the whole like live action
Yeah,
with Lion King. I don't understand.
I don't like
Why
the
we
live
use this-
action remakes of animated films. There's something wrong with it with me, and I just because I'm such a fan of animation and Disney, especially a lot of those old Disney animated films, and to see it makes me mad that they feel like they have to make a live action version of all of them. So, but that's
mean,
my bias.
Technically, Lion King still animated though, because it's like all of it is
Okay.
digital.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
But I do understand the sentiment. I do agree with it, even though I do have some fun with some of them. For example,
Yeah.
I do think that his Jungle Book is superior to the original. I don't think.
Yeah,
the
I
original
like.
Jungle
Actually, I
Book-
did like that.
I don't
I
think the
like some
original-
of the live action remakes. There's some of them I really enjoy.
I mean,
Not a
Aladdin
lot,
I
but some.
really enjoy as well. I don't think I can compare it very easily to the original. If I were to, probably would be up there. Yeah, Favreau again. Like, didn't like his Lion King. I didn't. I did like his Jungle Book. His, I mean, Capus and Aliens is like another story, and then yeah,
He was an executive producer on Iron Man 3. I'm giving him some credit. He's in the room. He set us
Sure.
up with one. He then delivered two. He had the vision for
Sure.
3. Would have been a disaster without him.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolute disaster.
Let's not talk about. Well, let's talk about one of my favorite films from him, Elf, which is one of my favorite
Yeah,
holiday
that's true.
films.
Yeah.
He
Excellent.
makes me
movie.
laugh in that all the time.
I
What he
love that movie.
needs is to be nurtured.
We
Like,
watch that
come
every
home.
year when we decorate our Christmas tree. So it's like been a tradition for us. So I just that movie is just so much fun.
So we have a Christmas tradition that my family has is we have like one day where all we watch is we have like Christmas movie marathon day. And so we each person will pick one movie they want to watch and we'll have a food item dedicated to that movie for some sort of, food item that takes place in the movie, like dedicated. But we end up watching the same 4 movies every year because I always pick like The Grinch. My dad's always picking Christmas Vacation. My sister is always
My other favorite.
like picking Christmas with the Cranks with Tim Allen. And then my mom is always picking Elf. And then we always have a wild card movie, which is Home Alone. We always watch Home Alone too. So we're always watching those 5 in one day. And it's like we start at like 8 a.m., take an hour break, and we just plow through them all. But it's funny how each year you got to pick. Elf is always on there because everyone knows we're never going to change from our one selection. And Elf, yes, so very familiar. Love that movie. Any others? You guys
I think
watched
about-
any of the like his prehistoric thing that he did with like I think it was
I did
Apple
see that
TV?
the first
I haven't
season
watched
of
that.
Again, he didn't direct it. He was an EP.
I knew he like he does some like narration of that too. Is he like is his voice on it at all? I haven't really watched it. I just remember seeing all the commercials with him promoting it.
I mean, because he's a big name, and
Yeah, I didn't know what he was doing with that.
Basically, the technology. He brought the technology from like Lion King and Mandalorian to work on a prehistoric documentary as if it was a live action footage that they took.
Right. No, that I need to watch. I like dinosaurs. I might enjoy that. Let's see. What else has he done? Come on here. Oh, I remember the commercials for the Thura. Never watched that, but I remember the commercial. There was like the boy, and he always was like, Thura. This is crazy. This is crazy. Anyway, that's John Favreau for you guys. Whew. My
So
voice
we
is barely
agree that
hanging in there.
Grogu is going to be his best movie, right?
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
Easily. It's gonna blow everything else out of the water. I guess we didn't was Swingers, like, was that his big like first big hit? Or like one of his I don't really know much about it. I just remember he talks about it a lot in some of those like gallery
Did he direct that one?
documentaries.
I don't think so.
He mentions that like project that he was on. He mentions
That
it a
was
lot
Doug,
in
Doug Lyman.
but
He
I
did
remember he
write it,
mentions
though.
that. But he
did write
mentions
it.
that a lot. I don't know what role he
Yeah.
had in that.
The writer.
Maybe he wrote that one. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense too, because when they're talking about he wrote and he's a part of like Mandalorian a lot, like in those galleries, I think he mentions, and that's where that makes sense. They're sitting in those round table. He was talking about Swingers. I think there's a few episodes in that first gallery season where he was referencing things from Swingers, which was interesting. Okay. All right. That's fun.
Yeah.
You guys got any movies that you're hoping to see in July before we get out of here?
I'm hoping to see something because I haven't seen anything in June yet. So hoping to get back into the movies at some point. I don't know how much I'm looking forward to either Superman or Fantastic Four, to be honest. I'm just like, they're gonna be here. I'm gonna watch them. I know like that is going to be a thing. One of the in 2 days of July. I'm just not super excited for it. I'm not super excited for Jurassic either. I don't think that movie will be very good, but I will see it. I will see it at some point. I am excited to see at some point 28 weeks later. Is not 20 years later. Sorry.
20 years later.
Years. And what else is? I mean, Formula One. We'll get to it at some point.
Yeah, I got my Superman tickets because I'm going away on the 11th, and I'll be off the grid really for a while in Wyoming, camping out. So
that's cool.
Yeah,
we're at like Yellowstone or like
we're gonna. Well, it's a long story. I'm doing a trek with an old friend. He has a milestone birthday coming up, so we're actually going out with his 2 sons and 2 other people. We're gonna do like a horseback trek through Wyoming. So I think we're gonna probably end up in Jackson, and then I don't know if we're gonna go as far as Yellowstone, but I'm excited about it. But I'm gonna be there won't be any movie theaters around, so I got my tickets to see Superman.
That's awesome.
The night before.
Shout out to my Uncle Keith, the voice of the Wyoming Cowboys. He lives in
really?
Wyoming. Yeah, he has a radio show up there. He's won like best sports broadcaster of the Mountain West like region like 4 or 5 times, and then he's the voice. He does all the like basketball games. He does like some football coverage and all that kind of stuff too. But anyway, so been to Wyoming. I've been to Wyoming a few times, and
that's great.
My family, we like the mountains and stuff. So
yeah,
have fun.
I'm looking forward to it.
Have fun. Take care. We'll talk to you all soon. I really hope I have 2 copies of Trials of the Jedi on the way. One was the special edition copy that I bought from Europe. One was from one of our very own Star Wars Newsnet guys that is mailing me a signed copy from Charles Soule. So I'm really excited. I was very grateful for him to give me that. So I'm hoping that comes in the mail before I go on a cruise with Janelle on Monday. So I need that to get here in the next 3 days, or it's all over for me. I need one of them, or I'm gonna lose it if I don't have that. I've been planning on having it for the trip. Anyway, all right. Till next time, everyone. Been a while. We are all the Republic. Yes, remember we are all the Republic for light and life, and remember, yes, that we are all the Republic.